Well, continuing this about the nature of natural numbers. Applied natural numbers. First, I will try to explain what are applied natural numbers, uh, its ontological nature, and then come to uh, abstract numbers. The next point is to find a way to use the procedures that I presented in the last video in an attempt to derive numbers from tropes. There are some hints of this in philosophy, from Aristotle to Stuart Mill. Locke, for instance, saw the number as a primary quality. Indeed, the bed in my room has the property of being one, independently of the kind of sensory system of the perceiver. An animal could see a different color, but it would see only one object. For applied small numbers, it sensorily works. I can perceive 2, 3, even 6 coins in a glance. I can here perceive 8 coins. Uh, and some savants can perceive more than 100 coins in a glance, although they are also unable to perceive great numbers. Kim Peck was able to uh, see 82 objects in a glance. Some others can see more than 300 objects in a glance, but of course not great numbers. Penelope Medi noted that the 10 fingers of her hands are located in her hands. Moreover, applied numbers can even move together with the bearers. For instance, one can say that the 26 stones of the original Stonehenge from walls were moved to Wiltshire. One can say this. Although these applied numbers seem to satisfy our definition of tropes, since they are spatio-temporally localizable properties, I guess, they are surely not at the same level of the material objects to which they apply, like the bed, the coins, the fingers, and the stones counted, or at the same level of the quality properties of the bed and so on, like the color. Since Frege, we know that applied numbers are dependent on the conceptual ways we have to divide the world. This, I think, was an important discovery of Frege. For example, I count my 10 fingers, but only 2 hands, uh, or only 2 hands, and I need to have the concept of 10 fingers or 2 hands in order to count. We count 26 stones, but only one stone hang off in Wiltshire. Without knowing the concept, I am applying. I cannot know the number. Frege has formulated it using only countable, we would say tropical concepts, and the tropical concept of existence, because it is also a property, it seems to be also a spatio-temporally localizable property, the existence, even if it has a higher order. So, the number 0 is the negation of existence, says Frege. We can symbolize a 0 as there is no mode of Venus. V is the mode of Venus. Uh, the mode of Venus does not exist, and exist for Frege is applied to V, is a concept of a concept. Uh, it is a higher order concept, and V applied to uh, X, to what comes as X, if it applies. Now, assuming that the concept of our mode is an description or conceptual rule, differently from Frege, an description or conceptual rule, what Tugendhat called Verwendungsregel or application rule, uh, and that this rule is also a trope. This rule, as it is applied, is localizable, spatio-temporally localizable, and a property, also a trope. The non-existence is the absence of the tropical, that is, localizable property of applicability of the ascription rule of F, which implies the impossibility of counting through the concept. 1. Calling M the mode of Earth, the applied number 1 is symbolized through there is an x, so that mx, and for all epsilon, my implies that epsilon is the same as x. Well, there is at least one and at most one object, that is the mode of the Earth. The applied number 1 is the trope property of applicability of the tropical existence rule of application constitutive of the concept mode of Earth, only once in a process of counting. The number 2 is symbolized as there exists an x, so that mx, m means Mars mode, mx and epsilon, and x is different from epsilon, and for all zeta, m of zeta implies that zeta is x or zeta is epsilon. That is, there are these two things and not more than two things, because the other things must be, if they are modes of Mars, they must be one of these two, Phobos or Deimos. They are the names of the modes of Mars. They exist since the conceptual rule is applicable, and the applied number 2 is the applicability of the tropical conceptual rule of Mars moon for 2 and only 2 moons in the process of counting. We see that the concept of applied natural number is very near to the concept of existence. Natural numbers are counted applications. It seems that the applied number is the tropical property of countability of a tropical conceptual rule. Considering that all these things are spatially, spatio-temporally localizable. All these properties. Anyway, to explain numbers in the way suggested above is like getting a small fish using a big net. As the result, you will get the fish together with other things, in the case existence and the conceptual rule. For instance, if you present the applied number 2 in this way, you will get the concept of my two hands together with their existence and with a countable number 2. Three things: the concept of my two hands, the affirmation of its existence, and the fact that its existence allows me to count uh, 2. Uh, then this is again the same formula. This statement says that there is something, a hand, that satisfies the conceptual rule expressed by age twice. Thus, what we need is to separate or abstract the number 2 from this statement. There are well-known ways to get rid of what does not mind. We can try to use, for instance, von Neumann's device in order to separate or abstract the tropical number from the concept of existence and the normal conceptual rules like that of the Earth's moon. According to von Neumann's device, we can define the successor of any natural number using the formula n plus 1 is the same as n united to a set that contains n as its element. So 0 is the null set. The null set is the set that contradicts itself, that and 1 is the set that contains only one element, which is the null set. 2 is the set that contains the null set as an element, and the set that contains the set that contains the null set as an element. These are 2, 1, and 0. Oh, 2 and well, and so on. Look that what is being suggested is that considering an application of the number 2, like what I have symbolically abbreviated as exists x, so that age x, age y, and they are different, and for all z, here I think there's an error again. I forgot to correct. Or Mars has 2 moons. From this, it seems I could abstract the number 2 as follows. 2 is a set contains 0 and 1, and here it contains the null set and the set that contains 1. Not sure. It is important to remark that I have first reduced the applied number 2 to sets. Second, the von Neumann set is articulated. 2 isn't only a set as simple as these 2 asterisks. In fact, the von Neumann set is something articulated. It contains 0, it contains the number 1, and it makes as a whole a set with 2 elements. And in fact, it seems that we assume all these things by considering the number 2. A third point, as we will see, is that this set is, in the case of an applied number, spatio-temporally located. It is at this third point that the appeal to von Neumann's and other similar solution fails. Ries Sets are non-spatial temporal pure sets. They cannot be tropes. And in fact, it's difficult to believe that they can be numbers in some way. Uh, how could we construct numbers beginning from nothing, beginning with nothing, since the null set seems to be nothing, defined as what is different from itself, and countable tropical applications cannot be derived from nothing. Furthermore, for us, the zero is the lack of application of a conceptual rule, while the one would be an unique application of a conceptual rule, what cannot be symbolized by uh, the, the null set or the set that contains the null set, respectively. My suggestion is to symbolize zero as the set containing the higher order lack of unities of application or countable conceptual tropes as no a set containing no application, uh, or simplified as null set. The one will be a set containing the application of countable trope or countable trope A, or the set containing A. It contains one only element, and conventionally the null set also, as it is usual. 2 will be a set containing two applications or countable tropes. Well, will be a set containing two applications or countable tropes. This thing here, uh, maybe we could formulate in this way. Note that it contains the application of the first set, the number 1, and a new application. Uh, uh, we count as 2. 3 would be the set, the first set uh, for the number 1, and 2, the new application, and 3, the last application. But they contain one another, so that 3 contains 2, that contains 1, that should also contain conventionally 0. 4 will be the set A contained in the set A1, A2, A3 should be. So, the most important point, however, is to see that the abstracted sets in question, when we are considering applied numbers, are not abstract entities. They are spatial-temporally located entities, also tropes. The number 2 applied to my hands, that is the set, a set containing A plus another application. I could put distinguish the first from the second with the number A, A1 and A2 is abstracted from the application of the concept of my hands to my two hands, and both are here. The set number trope is spatial temporally located, since it is here where my hands are and not in another planet. Although you can see the trope number set, it is spatial temporally located, rarefied, and not a quality thing, but a thing that is there in the space and time. At first view, this can seem strange, but in fact, there are a lot of things that you cannot see, and you agree that they are spatial-temporally located. For instance, electromagnetic forces, the gravitational force of a body, elemental particles, quarks, and so on. and you admit their existence. Thus, why to hold an unreasonable prejudice against these nonsensible but located, innocent particular set tropes abstracted from applied numbers? The set of the coins before me, the set of my fingers, the set of stones of the Stonehenge from Wiltshire are spatially, temporally located tropes. Since tropes are spatial-temporally localizable properties, these spatial sets or sums we are dealing with are tropes. Hence, it makes sense to speak of tropes as sets of tropical countable applications, as we have made, at least insofar as we are restricting ourselves to applied numbers. One could object that great numbers are not countable, but this could be answered. We could answer that we begin by establishing existence and by counting small numbers of things. It is a further extension of arithmetic that makes us consider great numbers that cannot be counted. Anyway, they remain ideally countable. They remain traces in the paper that we cannot mentally count only because of our own limitations. God could do it. Continuing, natural numbers as tropical universals. However, this is not the whole story. Some will cleverly object that in this way we have explained only applied and not abstract numbers. Mathematicians are not interested in counting the number of fingers of their hands. When they count 5 plus 7 is 12, they are considering natural numbers in abstraction of any concrete object or conceptual division of the world. They are considering numbers as abstract entities, as universals, as numbers in themselves. This sets a problem for definitions of numbers like those of von Neumann, also in the particular application I have suggested. They do not explain what all applied numbers of the same kind need to have in common in order to be instances of the same number. To make this point clear, we have two A, two applications. Uh, this formulates well the number 2 applied in counting the number of hands that I have, in counting the numbers of horns of a bull, or 2 subsequent nights. Then I apply these concepts to these diets. But it does not show what is common to all diets. This seems to be much better explained by means of a Russellian appeal to a set of all diets, as in the following suggestion. I have here the 2, 1, 2, here order 2, here order 2. They are the first applied to, the second applied to, third applied to, and we need the objects corresponding to them. This might be possible, but not as a way to reduce numbers to tropes, since a set of all sets of the same kind is not something spatial-temporally localizable, what makes such a formulation resistant to a reduction to tropes. Moreover, these sets are easily very large. In fact, they can be infinitely large, what overpopulates our universe, demanding that it has a number of localized things supporting the localized sets that is actually infinite, what seems really difficult to believe, if not impossible. The infinite is very, very, very great. However, the trope, that is, the greatness of infinite, is not inconceivable. However, trope theorist has not yet lost. He still has a way to express the number 2 outside its particular applications, namely as an universal, the number 2 in itself, without the need to accept that it isn't something spatial-temporally localizable. He needs only to consider again the way we have used to build universals, beginning with the most vulgar quality tropes. Then we can suggest that all we need in order to form the universal 2 is a located higher order trope or 2 taken as a model or any other located higher order trope of 2. In order to do this, the trope theorist can use sets as spatial-temporally located abstractions of applied numbers. Consider again the number 2. He can formulate the number 2 as an universal, first appealing to a higher order located countable tropical set of applications, 2 mu model, use it as a model, and then appealing to an strictly similar higher order trope. It's the same procedure. Here it goes. Number 2 is an universal, 2 in itself. The abstract number 2 as an universal, as the 2 in itself, is the same as a higher order located tropical application set, 2 application counted mu used as a model or any other higher order located trope strictly similar to here it's Latin the mu, strictly similar to the model. Here an illustration of how several applied set tropes of 2 are similar to the model set trope of 2. We have here the model set trope of 2, and here tropes that are similar, are strictly similar, are qualitatively identical. Furthermore, she can define any natural number as something abstract, as the universal, or as the number in itself, simply as follows. A natural number in itself is nothing but any higher order located countable set of tropical applicable conceptual rules used as a model or any other higher order located countable set strictly similar to the model. Before finishing, it is important to see that this very sketched attempt to solve the problem of the nature of numbers within the scope of trope ontology has not only the virtues of unifying things, it liberates us from the difficulty of considering natural numbers and the sets used to define them as non-spatial temporal Platonic or subplatonic abstract unifying entities. Moreover, it justifies in principle the applicability of mathematics to the empirical world, which otherwise seems to remain an impenetrable mystery. Some references. Here is a tropical beach, very different from tropical numbers. And so we finished this sketch.